Nearly 50 games and nearly 30% into the season, literally Wilmer Flores is leading the major leagues in RBIs, and it's a huge reason why the Giants look like legitimate postseason contenders.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, so check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And coming up on today's show, the Giants sweep the little brother Oakland A's, or excuse me, there I did it again, Oakland, whatever you want to call them, A's, in this 3-game series. Giants take care of business, a 9-1 win, a 1-0 win, and a 3-2 win. And so the pitching, phenomenal when you're giving up 0, 1, and 2 runs. So 3 runs total in the series given up by the Giants. And it's the flow show in the first 2 games. I mean, we'll get into the pitching and how, first of all, they were great and they've been great, and how they made a significant change. We're going to get into Hayden Birdsong joining the Giants rotation, and we'll also get into some exciting young talent doing some exciting things in the minor leagues. Bryce, Eldridge kind of exploding, and what that means for this team that has struggled at first base. Although Lamont Wade Jr. did have kind of the key hit in the win on Sunday that got the Giants a sweep. But Wilmer Flores just deserves a huge shout out here because it's unbelievable. What are the odds that literally almost 50 games and just over 29% of the way through the Major League Baseball season, Wilmer Flores, a guy who, has never been the best player around. He's a good hitter. And also just the year, he's always been like good and clutch, very clutch, but he had a miserable season last year. A lot of people were not happy that he was, just not DFA'd to start the season, even though it's a $3.5 million deal that he's playing under this season. He's already made up for that and then some by a lot this year. And he's leading the major leagues in RBIs. And I don't normally talk about RBIs. I've been doing this show for, like I said, over 6 years. And I rarely talk about runs batted in, but it's significant because those are runs that are scoring, and it's just not necessarily repeatable. And that's why it's so crazy that he's leading the league, because he's never been anything close to leading the league before. But the guy just has a knack for the big moment, which tangent is why it's so frustrating that the ball or the bat got taken out of his hands in the 2021 playoffs to end that series against the Dodgers. He represented the winning run, and he has such a tendency to come through in those exact types of situations. So that's frustrating still all these years later. But yeah, 3 homers in the opening game of the series. It overshadowed 8 brilliant innings by Logan Webb, who, right now all of my predictions are looking pretty good of my spicy takes that Logan Webb would win the Cy Young. The Giants would win. I kind of waffled on 88 or 87 games. and that the Giants would have the best bullpen in the major leagues. Right now, Logan Webb may very well be the Cy Young frontrunner in the National League, and the Giants do have the best bullpen in the major leagues, and they're playing well. So I'm feeling good about those. But anyway, Wilmer Flores, what does he do? He hits 3 bombs in this game, knocks in 8 runs for the Giants. 8, is that right? Like, that doesn't even seem... Yeah, drove in 8 runs. Giants scored 9. They got a late run that was driven in by Willy Adames. Otherwise, it would have been in the first 2 games of the series. All the runs would have been driven in by Wilmer Flores. And yeah, so he hits a grand slam. Just a great at-bat. It was a 10-pitch at-bat. And then he hit a 3-run homer. And then he hit a solo homer. So, I mean... what else can you say? The guy has been money, and you can continue to fill out your Wilmer Flores apology cards because for everyone who was wanting this guy off my team under all circumstances. And look, what's crazy is that the overall numbers, like batting average, on base, and slugging, it's not like he's put up Aaron Judge numbers in those categories at all. I mean, Wilmer Flores is hitting 258. Aaron Judge is hitting 401. Wilmer Flores has a 324 on base percentage. Aaron Judge has a 490 on base percentage. Wilmer Flores has a 454 slugging. Aaron Judge has a 751 slugging. And so normally those numbers that Judge is putting up lead to that kind of runs batted in totals, whereas the numbers that Flores has put up don't. But it just is what it is. He's just driven in a million runs. Like when he's hit, it has been in the big situations over and over and over again, kind of in his career, and especially this year. And so, like I said, Flores' resurgence is a big reason why the Giants are in the position they're in, which is a strong position where they're 1 game out of the National League West. They're 28-19. They have one of the better run differentials in the game at plus 47, which actually suggests they should be a win better at 29-18. They're 16-7 at home. They're 12-12 on the road. And another big reason why they are where they are is Elliot Ramos, who also stole the show. I don't want to say also stole the show because that doesn't really make sense. But in the finale, it was less about Flores and more about Ramos, who led off the game with a homer, led off the bottom of the first with a homer that put the Giants up 1-0. This was a game they won 3-2. He also drove in that 3rd run in a 2-run 8th. The Giants were down 2-1. Lamont Wade Jr. pinch hit triple to lead off the inning, and Patrick Bailey pinch hit single to tie the game. So that's just more examples of the Giants doing their best work in high leverage situations, which they've done all year long. And then Elliot Ramos driving in Bailey and then getting thrown out on the bases. But it's a big deal. I just like emphasize this every chance I get, that Ramos has seemingly really established himself as a good major league hitter, because it didn't look that way for the first couple years of his career. But all of a sudden, if you look at last year, he's way doing even better than last year offensively when he was good and an all-star. Like, he's hitting on this season 293, which is so much better than major league average, which major league average is like 242 or so, with a 360 on base and 494 slugging. So if you combine last year and this year, he's been a 25% above average bat. And, you know, that's a big deal for a homegrown, drafted and developed Giants outfielder, especially, but young player more importantly. And a guy who's not a free agent until after the 2029 season, a guy who could be an extension candidate at some point in the next couple years or, you know, sooner. So anyway, those two guys and the pitching. I mean, we didn't even get to the pitching, which we will, because there's also a major change that's going down as finally something that fans have been clamoring for a while. Hayden Birdsong in, Jordan Hicks out. We'll discuss in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I personally got my hands, I was at a car dealership and I got my hands on a new flavor, and oh my goodness, they were absolutely delicious. They were free at the car dealership and I wanted to take all of them home with me. I'm trying to quickly grab up the name of the flavor because they were just absolutely so good. They were like roasted chili. I don't have it. Yeah, Wonderful chili roasted pistachios. Chili roasted. Oh my goodness, they were one of the better things I've ever eaten. Like that good. So good. So get snacking and get cracking. Trust me, with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, here we go. We're going to get into the pitching for the Giants, which was like heroic for them in this series over this sweep over the A's. And there's a big change. Big changes are coming here. Just one, but it's a big one with Hayden Birdsong moving into the rotation. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we're going to be breaking down yet another game with the Royals coming into town. The Kansas City Royals. Chris Bubic, who has a 1.66 ERA, left-handed pitcher. Giants have had a tough time with lefties, although I think it was 2 lefty starters that they beat against the A's in this series, so maybe the tide has turned there against Robbie Ray. And the Giants have not lost a game started by Robbie Ray this season, so it'll be interesting kind of what wins out there with Bubic and his 1.66 ERA. We'll look closer at those numbers as we wrap up the show and see, are they sustainable for Bubic? But the big news, I mean, I don't want to overshadow like how good like the pitching was in this series by just moving right on to the Hayden Birdsong news. Camilo Doval in Webb's game threw 1 inning, 3 strikeouts. Webb went 8 innings, 1 run. And really that one run probably shouldn't have even scored. Landon Roop, 6 scoreless innings, with a scoreless inning from Randy Rodriguez, a scoreless inning from Tyler Rogers, a scoreless inning from Ryan Walker, and then Camilo Doval. This is a game that went extra innings. I didn't even get to Flores' walk when Mason Miller of the A's is throwing 104, literally 104, with a wipeout slider, and Flores had a long at bat, fouled off some 103s and 104s, and ended up drawing a walk. And Kuiper said it best. Like, he hit 3 home runs the previous game, but that may have been the best at bat of them all. Like, that was incredible. And Camilo Doval was incredible too, because the A's got that free runner in the top of the 10th, and that runner did not score, as Doval just continued to be dynamic and electric, as he has really been all season. And then in the finale, you got Justin Verlander. Here's one story to watch for sure, is that his velocity was down. He says he's dealing with something physical. So perhaps Jordan Hicks goes right back into the rotation if Justin Verlander has to go on the IL or something. Only went 4 innings. Velo was down like 3 miles an hour. But Spencer Bivens, 2 scoreless innings. Eric Miller, scoreless inning. Randy Rodriguez, scoreless inning. Ryan Walker, scoreless inning. So the bullpen has just been shut down. Like, I can't even, shutdown is not even strong enough of a word to describe the Giants' bullpen so far. 29% of the way into the season this year. So their ERA is 2.51, which leads the major leagues. The next closest National League team is over half a run higher, the Mets, at 3.05. So Yeah, the Giants bullpen just has been electric. There's no other way to put it. Even though they've had some guys struggle, like Ryan Walker has had his struggles, for example. But really, we need to get into Hayden Birdsong replacing Jordan Hicks. And what does that mean in the present and the future? It's, first of all, like, answers the question which young pitcher would move into the rotation if they had a chance. Like, would it be Kyle Harrison? Would it be Hayden Birdsong? Would they add Carson Whisenhunt to the 40-man roster and put him in there? I think that was the least likely, but it ends up being Birdsong, who has been very impressive, although his last few times out haven't been as good. And so all of a sudden, he's got the 2.31 ERA in 23 and a third innings, but the expected ERA is actually 4.14. Fielding independent pitching, 4.72. So we'll see. The stuff quality is quite good, especially the changeup, but the command has been subpar as things have kind of played out. His stuff is good enough that if he can just fill up the strike zone, I think that he will have a lot of success. Whereas Jordan Hicks is kind of the inverse, where he has a 6.55 ERA, but the peripheral numbers scream better results were probably earned. I don't want to say earned, that's the wrong word, but expected, like an expected ERA of 3.73, fielding independent pitching of 3.46. So, Bob Melvin spoke on Hicks's behalf, and he said that this is courtesy of Susan Slusser, by the way, that Melvin says Hicks has taken the news very well, just wants to help the team win. Melvin has emphasized lately that Hicks's peripherals indicate that he's pitching better than his numbers show. And that's exactly right. I mean, I'm glad to hear him say that too, because it, like, everything screams that better results were, again, I don't know what the right word is, but Hicks in the bullpen it just adds a dynamic arm, a guy who has been dynamite at times in the bullpen in his career. And the deal they signed him to, we said it at the time, 4-year, $44 million deal, $11 million a year for a reliever who's going to come in and potentially, if he ends up staying in the bullpen, he was known to throw, similar to Mason Miller of the A's, like well over 100 miles an hour. I think he's thrown like 105 at times. He averaged 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, did not pitch in 2020, opted out, over 100 on his fastball. So, and that's averaging. Well, that was the four-seam fastball. The sinker, I mean, he averaged over 100 in 3 out of those 5 years. So, and the other two were 99.3 and 99.4. So, it suddenly adds another electric arm potentially, although one with command issues and one that's been hit around a bit this year. So we'll see. But the big news to me is that 23-year-old Hayden Birdsong is going to get an opportunity to start. And I think that he's a starter. He's got a 4-pitch mix: fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. And I feel like a few times he's kind of come into some difficult situations and settled down, I guess, and maybe I think that like he's better suited for this role to start games. But it's all going to come down to command for him. Like, if he's throwing strikes, then I think he's going to do really well. If he's erratic and falling behind all the time and walking guys, then he may struggle. And then maybe you go to Kyle Harrison in that case and see what he can do. So, with Verlander potentially needing to go on the injured list, it sounded like, he's definitely dealing with something physical. He said so after the game yesterday when his velo was down significantly, that, he knows it. The training staff knows it. Bob Melvin knew it. He only went 4 innings. So we'll see. And potentially, you could make the call to go Harrison. Then all of a sudden you would have a rotation. If you put in Harrison with like Webb and Roop and Birdsong and Harrison, and then like Robbie Ray. And So it could flip pretty fast where it's like majority young. And I'm counting Logan Webb as still a young pitcher, even though he's very much established as an ace level pitcher at this point, and a guy who probably is the leading Cy Young candidate in the National League at this point. Again, he's already put up 2.1 Fangraphs wins above replacement, which, again, we're not even 30% into the season, so that's on pace for over 6 wins above replacement. On pace is never like how you should really look at things. It's more like, what do you project moving forward, and then you add that to what they've done. But yeah, it's Webb's strikeout rate is way up. His repertoire is different. He's evolved, and he's just having a great season. So, and he's only 28, and he's not going to turn 29 until mid-November. So I think Hicks deserved better results based on the peripheral numbers and the stuff quality and a lot of ground balls, found holes, and all that. But also, I'm very excited to see Hayden Birdsong get that chance. And I'd like to see Kyle Harrison get that chance eventually too this year. And Carson Whisenhunt coming down the line, I'd like to see him get a chance. Maybe more like a cup of coffee at some point this year, because there's just simply not enough rotation spots for all the, like, what are you going to do with Robbie Ray? What are you going to do when Verlander comes back and the pedigree that he has? So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. When I say comes back, he hasn't gone on the injured list, so I shouldn't use that term. But Carson Whisenhunt is just one of 2 players we're going to spotlight in just a minute, where there's a lot of excitement about how they're performing in the upper levels of the minor leagues. The other being perhaps the best position player prospect the Giants have had since Buster Posey. So we'll get into it in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. To me, the excitement as a new player of getting $200 in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins would just keep me so much more. It's just so exciting to be able to watch a game and know. And you could put that $5 bet on something that's likely to hit and watch it hit and get those 200 in bonus bets, and it adds to the thrill and excitement of the game, which is already thrilling and exciting. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, as promised, we're going to shift our attention to down on the farm, where the likes of Carson Whisenhunt and Bryce Eldridge are turning heads in a major way. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we'll be discussing Game 1 of this 3-game series against the Royals, with Robbie Ray and Chris Bubich going head-to-head, and 2 lefties. Bubich went to Stanford, actually. As I'm looking him up, I will discuss his underlying numbers and how they're actually pretty darn good. So this is going to be a challenge for the Giants. And yet the Giants haven't lost with Robbie Ray on the mound, and he's pitched great. And so it'll be interesting to see what gives. Something's got to give. Let's see. The Royals offense has not been good. And so the Royals are kind of doing it with pitching, it seems, when I look at this. And Bobby Witt Jr. is like a superstar. So you got to be careful of Bobby Witt Jr. Michael Garcia also has played well. And other than that, it's like, if you can just avoid those guys, you should have some success. but we'll see. It's baseball. You never know what's going to happen. So down on the farm, first I want to get into Bryce Eldridge because this guy is 6'7", listed at 240 pounds. He's 20 years old. He was the Giants' first-round draft pick in 2013, 16th overall out of James Madison High School in the Virginia area, I believe, which is where he plays for the Richmond Flying Squirrels right now. It's his home region, and he's out there, and he's mashing. So he hit a home run in his first at-bat of the season there. It took him a while to get that first at-bat as he was on the injured list, or I don't know if they needed to put him on an injured list, but he was dealing with wrist inflammation. Homered in his first at-bat. Numbers kind of weren't super special for a little while, but then the other day hits a couple of homers, and all of a sudden you look up and he's hitting 288 with a 367 on base and a 538 slugging in a league where it is tough to hit at an age where he's probably the youngest player in that league. I don't know that for sure, but he is 20 years old, and he's been 61% better than the league average there in Double-A, in that league. I've said this before, but I'm not sure when they put that number out there if they're doing it by league or if they're doing it by Double-A in general. But regardless, he's just hit very, very well in a league where it's tough to hit at all. And he's 20. And so with the Giants having struggles at first base, I know Lamont Wade Jr. got that triple the other day, but long term, Lamont Wade's a first free agent at the end of the season. So Bryce Eldridge's kind of timeline really potentially lines up very well with the Giants' perhaps present and definitely future. And also, I mean, we never know if this is going to translate to the major leagues, but this is probably, when you talk about, there was Marco Luciano, that the prospect shine has definitely worn off quite a bit with him. But with Eldridge, I think a lot of people think this guy is going to hit. One of the questions has just been defense. He's so big that he's kind of I've read about struggles defensively for him, but also I've read scouts say it doesn't matter even if he struggles defensively because he's that impact of a bat. And so it's just exciting when you've got a 20-year-old suddenly tearing it up in Double-A. He played just 9 games in Double-A last year, and then the season ended, and then he went to Triple-A. He was 18% above average in Double-A as a 19-year-old. This year, like I said, 61% above average right now in 90 plate appearances. So suddenly he's got 130 plate appearances at Double-A in 31 games. He also played 8 games in Triple-A. And I don't know. So I don't know what the timeline is exactly. I'm sure they'd like to, similar to what I've said about Elliot Ramos, for example, at the big league level, probably like to see him have a slump and then come out of it. And because basically Triple-A is much easier to hit in that league. And so Double-A is really where it's at when it comes to proving your ability to do something. And once you're in Double-A and succeeding, you could really get the call to the major leagues. So that could be, if he just continues to dominate down there. One thing to keep in mind, his strikeout rate is a bit high at 27.8% there in Double-A. It was only 20% last year in Double-A, so I would kind of expect that to come down a little bit as the season progresses, but it's just great to see him doing this and at the age he's doing it. So another player to watch is Carson Whisenhunt, starting pitcher, who the inverse, he's a pitcher pitching in a league where it's very difficult to pitch, and yet in the Pacific Coast League, in 9 starts, he's got a 3 ERA, strikeout rate 26%, walk rate just 3.5%. Last year it was 11.3, I beg your pardon. So he's pounding the strike zone. Ground ball rate is up around 50%, whereas it was 38% last year. So everything coming up nice for Carson Whisenhunt, who's gone 7 innings exactly in 4 consecutive starts, including yesterday, in which he allowed a total of 0 runs. So in his 7 innings of work, 2 runs, 2 runs, 0 runs, 0 runs. Those all 4 runs he's allowed have been solo homers in his last 4 starts. So that's kind of weird. And a grand total of 2 walks with a grand total of 28 strikeouts. 28 strikeouts, 2 walks, 4 homers, 4 runs, and an ERA of 1.29 over that span. And again, it's a tough league in which to pitch. And so, some of those homers may have been kind of cheap, but he's a name to watch. Giants have lots of young pitching. Harrison's probably next in line, but then Whisenhunt is perhaps the guy. So anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much, so thank you in advance. And thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening. Today, you are now Locked On Giants.